Manchester United have had to release a statement. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has had to apologise. Club officials aren't happy. Players aren't happy after Ratcliffe's comments yesterday. On a positive note, Michael Carrick, has he just won Premier League Manager of the Month award? Kobbie Mainoo among Manchester United stars back in the England squad, maybe. Updates on Sesko and the work that he's doing behind the scenes. Manchester United's transfer plan for the left defenders, left back targets, full back targets, revealed today. But the big and important news that a very important new defensive deal is nearly agreed. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of that. Looks like wages are going to be lower. Manchester United have made a club statement, obviously, on the whole Ratcliffe situation and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show, where we're going to round up all the latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes for you guys. Let's start by apparently news that's come out from Sully via Century Devils that Michael Carrick has won Premier League Manager of the Month award. He was only manager for 2 games in January. That was second place City, who we smashed 2-0, should have been about 8-0 with the performance we put in. And first place Arsenal, who'd not lost at home all season and not conceded 3 or more goals in a game for 3+ years. So you have to say, a very well-deserved award for Carrick. Fulham was February, Tottenham was February, West Ham was February. Frustrating to drop points versus West Ham. But I was saying this earlier, yes, we dropped points versus West Ham, but when West Ham had won 5 of the last 6 before we played them, when you look at the fact that we got 13 points from 15, well, we didn't win that game and Liverpool won and they've closed the gap and it's frustrating. We are doing very well now, and I'm confident that that was just a blip. We've always struggled against Nuno when it comes to Wolves and when it's come to Forest in the past, and I think we'll go back to winning ways versus Everton. But talking of positives, before we get into the news, Thomas Tuchel has confirmed that Maguire, Shaw and Mainoo are back in the picture for England. We're going to talk about Harry Maguire in a second, because that very important new deal for Maguire could be agreed, and we're going to talk about why that is important, because he's going to be lowering wages and why I think it's good to keep Maguire for another year. But Luke Shaw back in with a shout. I mean, I know it wasn't great versus West Ham, but he has had a very solid season. And Kobbie Mainoo being back in the picture is the one that I'm most happy for. I think it will be Anderson, Rice, Bellingham midfield 3. But you could argue that Kobbie is probably the first midfielder to come off the bench. I think he's personally better than Adam Wharton for me. I think Kobbie is a really talented player. I think Kobbie has got to be in that England squad. And look, Maguire deserves it. I think Konza and Gay will be the centre-backs. Maguire deserves it, and look, Shaw probably deserves to be in the squad as well. And also to top off the positive news before we get into the other... To top off the positive news that we're starting with until we get into the other news stories, it was also said by Ty Marshall today that Benjamin Sesko is described as super dedicated at the training ground and arrives first every day with Dalot, who's become his closest confidant in the squad. We're hearing loads of stories about Sesko, his mentality, how he's first to arrive, how hard he works, how he doesn't really use social media. And I like that stuff. I like this mentality around Sesko. He's got 5 goals in his last 6 games. He's been really good since Amarin left. So big up Sesko. But let's get into the serious news. Let's get into the transfer news. Let's get into the stories and more. So, Ben Jacobs was on the United Stand YouTube channel today. He said a lot of things, and I'm not going to get into everything that he said, so make sure if you want to find out more of what he said, you go check out the United Stand YouTube channel for that. But I want to touch upon what he said when it came to sort of left wing, left back, the left-hand side. Now, I think we need a left wing, a left back, and 3 centre mids, 2 top centre mids, a third for depth, a left back, and a left wing. You could argue we only just really need one of a left back or a left wing. But for me, we don't have a natural left winger, and arguably maybe a left back would be useful. But they might say we've got Dorgy, we've got Shaw, we've got Harry Amas. So I understand prioritising a left wing over left back, to be honest. Ben Jacobs said, a left wing over left back is the focus at this stage. If Maguire stays, the club may focus on left wing that can play left back. But isn't that just Dorgy? If he leaves, they may focus on a left-sided centre-back that can play left-back. Wasn't that just Leacher? On the right side, they may need to think about the future and whether they need young players. We've got Maguire Dalot for right-back. I know Dalot's a liability, but I don't think it's a desperate position. We've got Mbeumo and Ahmed for right-wing. We've got Yoro for right centre-back and Dilip for right centre-back. I'm not too worried about the right-hand side. I think number 1 priority has to be a top midfielder, Casemiro replacement. Number 2 priority has to be an Agati replacement. Number 3 priority has got to be a left wing. Number 4 priority has got to be a third midfielder for depth. Number 5 priority, you can talk about left back, left centre back, depending on who goes and what happens with Maguire. But Maguire apparently is very close to signing a new deal, and we're going to talk about why that is really important and why that's a really important defensive deal in a minute. But I forgot to put the notes in. But Ben Jacobs did also say on the United Stand today, over the summer the club really liked Grimaldo, but no approach was made. Grimaldo would have been a great left wing back. I'm surprised we never really pushed for Grimaldo. I guess maybe the club felt we didn't need a left wing back, but as soon as we knew we weren't going to sign a midfielder and we were going to wait until next summer to sign a midfielder in Baleba, maybe leftover funds could have been spent on Grimaldo. However, you would say now that Amrin's been sat, we don't really need Grimaldo because he's a left wing back. He's not a left back in a back four. We also looked at Marcos Llorente of Atletico Madrid, who's sort of a midfielder turned right back, a bit like Nunes of City. And then we also looked at Munoz. Now, to be honest, I'm open to selling Delo and replacing him with a better right back, but I think left back is probably the priority for Manchester United. I think Luke Shaw, I know, is probably going to stay out and see out the last year of his contract. I know Dorgu can play left back; he's played really well left wing. I think, to be honest, I'd have Luke Shaw and Dorgu left back, Masraoui Delo as the right backs, but maybe a really electric left winger. But I do think we could improve at fullback, guys. If you could only sign a left winger or a left back, who would you sign? Because I feel like we could do better at fullback, but I also feel like we need a left winger because that doesn't get the best out of Mbumo, that doesn't get the best out of Cunha. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm actually trying to think, like, should we go for... Because you can have Mbumo and Amers as your right wingers next season, Cunha and Sesko as your central players, Dorgu and someone else could be our left wing options. And then if Dorgu's the second left wing option, he's also the second left back option behind Luke Shaw. I think we need both a left wing and a left back. The only argument is we've got lots of good young left backs. And obviously there was talk of we may go for a left centre back that can play left back if Maguire leaves, but Maguire is set to stay. Harry Maguire is close to agreeing a new contract with Manchester United and has accepted a significant pay cut to stay. He didn't want talks with any other clubs before speaking with Man United and wanted to stay at the club. I'm happy with this. Maguire staying, if he reduces his wages, I'm very happy with. Maguire and Martinez have been excellent since they played together. I thought Maguire was actually our second best player on the pitch after Kobbie Mainoo versus West Ham. And then, of course, Yoro and Sesko did very well when they came on. I thought Maguire was fantastic. I think he's been really good since he's come back in. I think him and Leacher have worked really well together. And I think Manchester United getting Maguire to stay another year is a really important deal for experience. We're losing Casemiro, that's a leader. Fingers crossed we don't lose Bruno. We can deal with Maguire as a leader. His injury record is annoying. He's not going to start for us at the back long term. But to have him here for another season for experience, for depth, would be really important because I feel like now Maguire's no longer captaincy and there's no longer so much pressure on him to perform. And people kind of forgot about the 80 million price tag and he's been quite good lately, so people aren't putting that pressure on him. I feel like his confidence is better. I feel like he's playing a lot better, and I'm really happy that Maguire is set to sign a new deal at Manchester United. I think the fact that we're very close to agreeing this deal is very important because I think he does bring us defensive stability. I think he does bring us leadership, and they're very important things that he brings. Now, talking of leadership, Manchester United's leadership were mortified by Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments on immigration, fearing the impact on their players and the new stadium construction project. It is likely that Michael Carrick will address the players to reassure them that the viewpoint is not shared. I think the players are smart enough to know that not everybody shares the same viewpoint as Carrick. Not Carrick. It's everyone. Not everyone shares the same viewpoint as Ratcliffe. I think if Ratcliffe says something, I think the players are smart enough to know that that doesn't mean that everyone else at United thinks that, but United will clarify that to them. And look, the club had to put out a statement, an apology. How embarrassing is that for Ratcliffe? That he's gone out in an interview, said this, and this, probably thinking he's made some amazing point, and everyone's just come back at him like, you don't even pay tax. Like, why are you talking about this when you left for Monaco so you don't have to pay tax? Why is Ratcliffe bringing this up in relation to Man United? Didn't Ratcliffe emigrate to Monaco? Didn't Ratcliffe make loads of people unemployed? Don't Man United hire loads of immigrants? Like, I feel like the roasting of Ratcliffe online and the reaction has forced Ratcliffe into an apology. We know some players are not happy with Ratcliffe's comments, but they've been made to be reassured that it's just Ratcliffe that thinks that and no one else at the club. But it's embarrassing that we had to release our own statement because our owner goes and waffles stuff like that in an interview. Manchester United prides itself on being inclusive and welcoming club. Our diverse group of players, staff and global community of supporters reflect the history and heritage of Manchester United, a city that anyone can call home. Since launching Equal for Red in 2016, we've embedded equality, diversity and inclusion into everything we do. We remain deeply committed to principles and spirit of that campaign. They are reflected in our policies but also in our culture and reinforced by our holding of Premier League's advanced equality, diversity and inclusion standards. The fact that we've had to come out with a statement after Jim Ratcliffe making comments is not a good look for Jim Ratcliffe. It's pretty embarrassing. I know Jim Ratcliffe has apologised or re-explained his point and said that, and sort of half apologised. But the problem is, I think it was the word colonised that is probably what's really winding people up. And Manchester United players are dismayed by Ratcliffe's comments that immigrants have colonised the United Kingdom. One senior United player said he had no words in response to Ratcliffe's remarks, which he apologised for on Thursday. Ratcliffe has since apologised, but when you've got a lot of immigrant players, players that have come in from different countries and you don't pay tax and you go and then slander immigrants and people that don't pay tax, you're not going to get a good response. And I don't know what Ratcliffe thought he would achieve by saying that, but we've had to come out and apologise for him. And this club is just a bit embarrassing right now, isn't it? But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Bye.